We hit the maximum recording length available on the streaming app. So we had to get it fired back up, you see. So we are currently we're at sidebar, and I think Auntie Bev is screaming at everybody again. Oh, I think it may be Bev doing her thing. Yeah, it's all good. We're back. We're back. Monk, good to see you, my man. We are at sidebar currently, people. We haven't lost it. We're just waiting for the big B to stop pontificating. The witch or devil or whatever.
All right, now you can go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. McCabe, is it true that you had the following colloquy last year on this subject? Answer, I was on the passenger side, so as I got out, she was already at John. Question, so she gets out and essentially makes a beeline over to where John was. Answer, correct. Question, and you're getting out of the passenger side, and by the time you come around the car, she's already there. Answer, yes. Question, and when she gets over there, what, if anything, could you see at that point? Answer, she straddles John and lifts up his shirt. And then she lifted up her shirt and went to lay on him. And Miss Roberts went over and she was removing the snow from his face. Is that how you testified last year?
Yes, that's how I answered the questions.
Okay. Clearly, you didn't indicate last year that it was whiteout conditions. You could see nothing of the kind, and you had to get, quote unquote, very close to him.
Interesting.
Correct? Objection.
Sustained.
Why? You can't impeach her from her last testimony. That's hump.
It was whiteout conditions. You had to leave the car, walk all the way over and get, quote unquote, very close to John before you recognized that it was even a body. Is that right?
Yes.
But last year you testified that you were still at the car when you noted the detail of Karen basically giving life-saving aid to John. You can see that clearly all the way from the car, right? Objection.
Is that what you said, Ms. McCabe?
No.
Is there a reason
It's getting hard to.
that you might wish to improve your testimony this year than last year, over last year, with regard to the distance that you could see Ms. Reed engaged with Mr. O'Keefe?
No.
Are you trying to suggest or improve your testimony to suggest that you had no idea that there was a body there and nobody reasonably could have even seen the body there as you drove up? Objection.
Is that what you're trying to say, Ms. Reed?
Ms. McCabe.
Okay. Can you repeat the question, please?
She nodded yes. Big time.
Sorry.
Are you trying to improve your testimony this year over last year to suggest that reasonably nobody could have seen where John was from the car?
I'm not trying to improve my testimony now.
I don't believe you. How do you go from being able to make out that detail to being able to see nothing? Because she doesn't remember from one to the next.
Examination today, as a matter of fact, that Ms. Reed looked at you at the scene and said the phrase, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." She said it 3 times, very distinctly, according to your testimony. Correct?
She did, yes.
That was so impactful that it had the effect of putting you in some sort of shock and horror. Is that right?
I was in shock the whole morning, but that statement definitely was a lot.
And that's an incredibly memorable statement for you to have heard and now recount to us in this trial, correct?
Correct.
something that you wouldn't easily forget or overlook. Is that right?
Something I wouldn't.
Something you would not easily
Correct.
forget or overlook. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
As a matter of fact, some might say it's the centerpiece of your testimony.
Objection.
System.
It's all right. You got it, Ed.
Ms. McCabe, you testified at a grand jury in April of 2022, did you not?
I did, yes.
Before you testified, you took an oath, very much like the oath that you took before you testified in this case, correct?
Correct,
You swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, correct?
correct,
And that included the whole truth at the state grand jury, correct?
correct.
That was only weeks, several weeks, but weeks after this incident, right? April 26th versus January 29th, 2022. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Things were much fresher in your mind then than they are now.
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
Especially something as momentous as an admission from my client that she hit him. Would you agree?
Would I agree that she said that?
Would you agree that that would be fresh in your mind? Something as momentous as that. You wouldn't forget that.
I will never forget it.
You wouldn't overlook that.
I will never forget it.
You would not overlook that.
You overlooked it.
Okay.
I answer the questions I'm asked.
Can you answer the question that I just asked? You're not answering my question. Would you overlook that?
No,
And the reason you wouldn't overlook it is because it was so impactful on you, having heard that. Not once, not twice, 3 times. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Is that right?
yes.
This is awesome. I'm sorry, it really is. Good lawyering. How did you forget that the first time, Sunshine? I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Skipped my mind. Because you changed your testimony, you liar.
Thank you.
Take a look at that document and tell me if you recognize it.
Yes, I see it.
Is
It's all
that a
right.
transcript of your entire
She's not
testimony
alone.
in grand jury in April of 2022?
She has
I
Prince
believe so,
Valium.
yes.
You've reviewed it in the past.
I have read it about a year ago, yes.
You read it in anticipation of your testimony a year ago, correct?
Yes, I reviewed it.
Have you reviewed it in preparation for your testimony today?
No, I haven't.
Yesterday. Ms. McCabe, turn to the page or pages in that transcript where you recount to the grand jurors that my client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Oh, you won't find that.
This is over 227 pages.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Did you say it was, Ms. McCabe?
227?
I'm not going to let her read 227 pages.
You reviewed it before, haven't
I reviewed it a year ago, yes.
you? You read the whole thing cover to cover, didn't you?
I skimmed through it.
One of the
Ew.
most important points in your testimony yesterday and today is recounting these jurors the phrase, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Is that right?
Objection.
To the form of that, I'm sustaining it.
Was it important to you to tell these jurors that you heard my client say, I hit him 3 times?
I answered the questions and I'm telling the jurors what I know.
Was it important to you before testifying today that you recount to these jurors the phrase, I hit him, coming out of my client's mouth?
Your client said she hit him, yes.
That's not my question. Listen to my question, Mr. McCabe.
I'm sorry.
Was it important to you before you testified to tell these jurors under oath that my client said, I hit him 3 times?
as a juror, as a witness, it's important to tell the truth and to answer the question you were asked.
And
Then why didn't you do it the first time?
in your entire grand jury testimony, you never said, my client said the words, I hit him. Did you?
Again, it's 227 pages.
You didn't. Trust me.
McCabe, you were there. They're your words. I'm not asking you to rehearse something. You were there. Did you tell the grand jurors that my client said I hit him?
I have testified a number of times, but I was there the morning of January 29th when your client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Did you tell that to the grand jurors?
I'm not sure.
It's because you didn't, did you?
Again, I'm not sure.
Ms. McCabe, you were asked in your grand jury testimony no fewer than a dozen times, 12 times, 12 separate times, you were asked to repeat words that my client said both before, going to, and at the scene at 34th Fairview that morning. Correct?
Objection.
Do you know the answer to that?
No.
You were asked multiple times what my client's words were that you heard her say going to and at the scene. Correct?
I was correct.
And you recounted those words truthfully and honestly at that time, correct?
Correct.
Because you were under the same oath that you're under today.
Correct.
And things were much fresher in your mind then than they are now 3.5 years later. Would you agree with that?
I hit him,
Anyone-
I hit him, I hit him is just as fresh today as it was 3 years ago.
Turn to page 190.
She's just proving she could get anything she wanted in, no matter what the question was asked. She could have got that
10
in.
and 11.
Which lines? I'm sorry.
10 and 11.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You recounted what Ms. Reed said to you over the phone to the grand jurors, correct?
Correct.
And what she said at 4:53 a.m. was, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? She didn't say it. She asked it, correct?
She didn't say that at 4:53.
Did you testify that what Ms. Reed said to you that morning over the phone was, could I have hit him? Did I hit him?
Yes, I did.
May I approach?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
It's 227 pages. We'll get to reading. Doesn't pass the smell test. Doesn't pass the smell test. Why didn't you say it at the grand jury? They were asking you what was said at all these locations.
Wanted to verify page number, Your Honor. May I approach?
Yes. Why don't you tell Mr. Brennan the page number?
I will.
You can hear how much Bev loves this. Wicked bummer.
If you turn to page 192. Line 4. What did you tell the grand jurors my client said in that answer?
Foundation.
What
Did
are we
you-
talking about?
I'll ask it a different way. Did you answer a question on page 192, line 4, concerning my client's statement?
Did I answer a question?
You were answering a question, correct?
Oh, yes, yes.
All right.
I'm sorry.
And the answer that you gave to the grand jurors was, she said, could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes, that's part of the answer I gave.
Turn to page 193.
I'd object.
So I don't want to have to see it, Saba. We need context in order for this to be admissible, Mr. Jackson. I have no idea what that said.
Your Honor, everyone,
The answer is-
I can make an offer of proof at sidebar if you
Okay,
wish.
why don't you come to sidebar?
Sure.
And bring them.
All right, all right, all right. Let's go over for a little more sidebar. Bev doesn't want this stuff in. right? The last thing in the world she wants is this woman's testimony impeached. But if you were on the grand jury and they said, what did you say? Well, I mean, what did Karen Reed say to you on the way to the scene? They're trying to get answers to, did she say anything that freaking incriminated her? If she had said, I did it, I mean, I hit him, I'll never forget that. Well, then why didn't you say it that day? You were on the grand jury. Your job was to deliver the evidence that you heard. They were asking you what you heard at the freaking scene. It's not like it is today where you can't say what you want. At a grand jury, they're wide the hell open. She was allowed to just talk her butt off. But she didn't mention that phrase. That seems odd to me. Really, really odd to me. Doesn't pass the smell test, as I like to say. You know what I mean? The smell test, it does not pass. Now, people, while they're side buying it, I'm going to take a quick stretch. I will be back within 2 minutes. Please don't go anywhere. This is just getting good. But I got to stand up for a second. Sorry, it's been 6 hours.
Yes. Do you have an extra copy for yourself,
I have
Mr.
notes.
Jackson?
I have
Okay.
notes.
Thank you.
I think my notes is fine. On page 192, line 4, for context, were you talking about a statement that was made in Karen's car on that morning before you got to the scene?
192.
192, line 4.
Yes, that was a comment she made in the car.
And she said the phrase, you recounted that she said the phrase, could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes, that was part of my answer.
Take a look at page 193, line 1 through 2. This was also in the context of a conversation that was in Karen's car, correct?
Yes.
And the phrase that you attributed to my client was, could I have hit him? The question, correct?
Yes.
Page 193, line 23. In the context of being in John's driveway at One Meadows,
Yes.
and you attributed the statement, and she's asking if she could have hit him, correct?
Yes, when she showed me her taillight.
Page 201, lines 23 and 24. This is driving to Fairview. She asked, what if I hit him? Could I have hit him? Correct?
Can you tell me the lines?
I'm sorry, lines 23 and 24. Page 201.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I've read it.
She stated, according to you, what if I hit him? Could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes, she did.
Page 202, top of the page, line 1 and 2. Again, in context, this is driving to Fairview before you arrived at Fairview. And she again asked, quote, according to you and your testimony in front of the grand jury, could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes, I see that here as part of my answer.
Then turn to page 208, lines 24 and 25.
I'm sorry, what lines 24 and 25?
Lines 24 and 25, let me know when you've
I've read them,
reviewed
thank you.
those. For context, this is at the scene outside Fairview.
Yes.
And you told those grand jurors under oath, she asked, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Correct?
Yes.
On page 208, lines 24 and 20, I'm sorry, 208 and 209, going on to page 209.
And no restrictions
3.
at a grand jury. You say whatever you want, whenever you want.
You actually recounted to the grand jurors a conversation that you said my client had with a female EMT standing right there, exactly as you testified to today. Female EMT. You see that?
I do. Yes.
And what did you say my client's statements were in front of that female EMT?
In this, I say that she said, could I have hit him? Is he dead?
It's actually, did I hit him?
Oh, sorry. I missed that part. I apologize. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead?
And that was at the scene in front of the female EMT, exactly the scene that you're describing. You attributed the 3 statements to my client to today, right?
There was many different times when we were talking to different EMTs, the female EMT, the men, police officers.
Wasn't important enough to talk about, apparently. Honestly, this is, why didn't you say it? And Beverly's hating this because he's getting it in. Cindy, they ask questions, but there's not an adversary, right? So there's no defense attorney in a grand jury hearing. So when a prosecution asks you a question, they'll let you talk basically to your heart's content. You know what I mean? As long as you're giving them, because they're trying to get information out of you. So they're going to let you, they're going to ask you what you heard, and they will ask more questions to bring out more, but they're not trying to restrict you.
At page 208, starting at lines 22 through 25, going on to page 209, down to line 4, was, quote, so there are different, police officers getting statements from us. And at one point I'm standing with Miss Reed and she's saying, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And there was, I believe, an EMT, a female, standing right next to me, listening to her yelling, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? It was pretty much nonstop. That was your testimony in front of the grand jurors, correct?
Yes, it was.
And that was April 26th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
One time. Not one time, Ms. McCabe, did you utter the phrase, I hit him, as it relates to my client in front of that grand jury on April 26th, 2022. Did you? Not once.
I'd have to read through the 227 pages to see.
As you sit here today, do you remember ever saying to those grand jurors, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, in front of a female EMT?
I've spoken to in a few grand juries. What I said specifically at different ones, I don't recall at this moment, but I do know that morning your client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times, and there was a female EMT there.
See, she'll get it in there, right? She'll work that in. That wasn't a question. Why didn't you say it that day was the question? Because you're a liar, because you're changing your testimony, right? It wasn't good enough. So they got to change the testimony up.
Just the same day, right? January 29th.
Yes.
Trooper Proctor was taking notes
Yes.
about your conversation?
Yes, he was.
You reviewed those notes, as a matter of fact, at some point.
I didn't review his notes. I think I've seen a report at one point or another.
On that very day, January 29th, 2022, when you were asked to recount what happened at the scene, who was doing what and who said what? You never told Trooper Proctor that my client said I hit him either, did you?
Oh, I told him. Yes, I did.
He just leave that out of his report?
I'm not responsible for his report.
No, you're not. But you have read his report.
Well played.
So again, no comments, Mr. Jackson.
You have read his report, right?
I have seen it before, yes.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Thank you.
You looked at that report for another particular this morning. You still recognize it?
Yes, I do.
This poor woman has had so many unfortunate events happen to her, right? She forgets one thing because her memory's bad, but she can remember she was looking in the backseat to make a sandwich.
Okay, is there something specific I should be looking for?
I don't think you're going to find it, Ms. McCabe.
All
I hit him.
right, so again, jurors disregard the comments. So it's question, answer format only.
My question is, do you see the phrase, I hit him, as it's attributable to my client in that report?
Objection.
Sustained.
Can't ask that question, apparently. Anybody figure out why that wouldn't be allowed in?
Telling Trooper Proctor that my client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Objection.
Do you recall that?
Yes, I told him.
He was taking notes at the time.
He was taking notes, correct? I'm assuming he,
The report that you hold,
I object.
Sustained.
that's about to be a report of January 29th, 11:35 or so a.m. interview that you did with Trooper Proctor.
yes, it does.
You said you reviewed that report in the past,
Yes, in the past.
and you're aware in no place in that report does the phrase "I hit him" show up anywhere, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Can I approach?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna approach the witness. Sorry, Mr. Brennan.
I thought it was a sidebar too. I think everyone else did.
I was just grabbing the report back. Sorry. May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Big side eye from the big B. Yeah, she was not. Beverly's not happy with this, and I find that amazing.
I want
You
to draw your
cannot
attention to
impeach
the
her.
very
Sorry.
early morning hours of January 29th, around 4:53 a.m. when you indicated you received that phone call from Kaylee's phone. Do you have that time and date in mind?
Yes, I do.
My client told you that John had not come home, correct?
Yes,
And you knew that Miss Reed at that point was awake and looking for John.
I didn't know what, I just knew that she was awake and screaming.
Right, because she was worried about where John was.
Objection.
Sustained.
You've been asked who you communicated with first thing that morning after you received that first call from Miss Reed. Is that right?
Yes,
You were asked by Trooper Prince in her formal interview. Trooper Prince interviewed you on February 1st, about 3 days after the incident, correct?
I've met with a lot. I don't really remember specific days.
Do you remember a female trooper
Yes, I do, actually.
in your house?
Yes,
Or I should say at your house?
yes.
That was around 3 days after the incident?
Was it Tuesday, maybe? Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
I think so, yes, if
Okay.
it's the one I'm thinking.
You were also asked at the same grand jury who you communicated with on the morning of January 29th.
Okay,
Remember that?
not specifically.
Would it refresh your recollection if we were to take a look at that, a specific page of that grand jury transcript?
Sure.
She wants to rip his head off. Maybe she should have doubled up on that benzodiazepine. And some eye drops wouldn't have been a bad idea either. Arabian Bard nailed that, Arwa. She definitely needed some eye drops.
Do you need a couple of minutes, Mr. Jackson?
I do, Your Honor.
So, juries, why don't you stand up and stretch, okay?
That's right. Everybody on the lifeboat, stand up and stretch. Get your maybe a warm compress. Honestly, if you've watched Jen McCabe, her eyes are a little
Jackson,
different
do you want
today.
a 5-minute recess? We're still going to stop at 4, so really 5 minutes, folks. We'll have you go back.
They're not playing. This is a 5-minute recess. Good. I will use the restroom. Talk amongst yourselves. I will give you a topic. The Honorable Beverly is not honorable. No. Have fun. I'll be back shortly. She's nowhere near honorable. But that's... Hey, everybody. I'm back. Breakfast of Champions. Ibuprofen. So we're taking a 5-minute recess, and the big B, Beverly, said this is to be a 5-minute recess. She's not messing around. Jen McCabe has been on the stand all day long, literally. The girl has, the lady has been on there for better than about 6 hours now, which is, this is not her first go around. As one of the reasons that this seems a lot different than most cross examinations that you normally see in a case is because there is so much stuff out there to impeach her on. There are so many different times that this woman has given testimony. They've got the written reports from the cops, right? To some degree, because the cops didn't do much, but the written reports from the cops. You got the feds and their investigation. You have grand jury testimony. Then you've got the entire first trial, and she was on the stand for days in the first trial. That was really long testimony. She has to remember all of those things. If you tell the truth, you're still going to probably have small details that end up, getting jumbled. But I remembered things as they were doing the cross, and they're asking her questions like, "Did you go to the window each time you sent a text message?" In the first trial, she absolutely said, "Yeah, every time I went and saw something change, I texted." Right. So for her to double back on it this time, obviously it's impeaching her. And the funny thing is, her response to all of this is that, her memory isn't as good as it used to be. However, doesn't always necessarily mean to her that her memory would be better closer to the event. In some things, she finds the farther she gets away from the event, the more she remembers. That may be true for a lot of people. It's not for me. I tend to do better if I'm, if you're asking me about things that happened yesterday, I'm probably safer than something that happened a year ago. But what do I know? Memory is one thing, yet the truth isn't hard to keep straight, is it? Well, it shouldn't be, right? Truth can get distorted in our mind. There's no question. I tend to agree with that. The problem becomes that she says things like this morning's testimony. She testified about how when the feds came to her house and asked her, "Did you call anybody?" This is 30 minutes after, right, that they first call her. They're in her house. And they said, "How many people have you talked to?" And she said 2. She had talked to 7. But she, on the stand today, said she wants us to believe that, she didn't think to tell the federal agents about the other 5 people that she called. Just didn't think about it. Wasn't a lie. She just didn't think about it. Didn't think to tell them. That's a lie. All right, here we go. Let's see here.
All right, you all set, Mr. Jackson?
Sorry, Mrs. Jackson.
Bringing the jurors over. Are we
for
still
real.
on schedule?
We are.
Okay.
Don't stare directly at the fan, folks. They're leading the jury in, and then we will have Jennifer McCabe back on the stand. Jennifer's fun. You're never going to come across anybody on the stand that fights harder, even if it's just simple as hell. It would be so much easier for her to just say yes, right? He's going to get a yes out of you anyway. The first half of the day, before they took the long recess, she wasn't doing this nearly as much. She was sort of, now she's reverted back very much to what she was like in the first trial. All rise for the honorable, sorry, the big B. Hey, Grace. Sorry, Mr. Jackson, I am for real. Didn't mean to make your daughter cry. All right, let's get to it. What are we doing here? Seems like it's taking a long time to lead this jury in.
For the session, please be seated.
Here we go. We were talking about the I hit him testimony when we took our 5-minute recess.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McCabe, I want to draw your attention back to the morning, later in the morning, back at 34 Fairview, after the police have already cleared the scene, and you're back with your friends and family inside the home at 34 Fairview. We've already talked about the fact that the witnesses were not sequestered in any way. They were not separated in any way by the police. Is that right?
We were just sitting together with friends
Right.
and family. So yeah, no.
Everybody was free. All the friends and family that were in there were free to talk amongst themselves, which you did do, correct?
Yes.
All right. Everybody had the opportunity to say their piece and to listen to others say their piece as well.
We had conversations. It wasn't really nothing more than that.
At some point you did, I think you mentioned this on direct examination, you did reach out to Mike Lank. Is that right?
Yes.
Remind us who Mike Lank is in your world, in addition to being a Canton police officer, police sergeant, I think he was at the time. Who is he in your world?
He was just a local guy that I, knew, was friendly with.
And had gone to high school with?
No.
Was he ahead of you in high school?
We weren't in high school at the same time.
Got it. He was about 5 years ahead of you, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. But you'd known him or known of him from basically childhood or young adulthood.
Yeah, just knew him from around town.
So he's a townie?
At some point, you decided that you were going to call Sergeant Lank back to the scene because there was a piece of information that you wanted to provide him again. Provide him so he needed to come back again.
Yes,
Ultimately, you called him on his cell phone, right?
I did. Yes.
So you were close enough that you had his cell phone number. He had your cell phone number.
No, I didn't have his cell phone number.
Where'd you get that number?
I asked Julie Albert for that number.
So Julie had his cell phone number.
Yes, she did.
And Julie is Chris's wife.
Yes.
She was at the location.
Yes.
When I say the location, 34 Fairview that morning,
Yes.
as was Chris.
He came at some point. I don't know if he was there when I called Officer Lank or not.
As was Brian Higgins, correct?
Yes, he was.
He came back over to the location as well.
Yes, he did.
As a matter of fact, it was Brian Higgins who suggested that you reach out to Officer Lank.
I'm not sure if it was him who suggested it.
Someone suggested to you that you reach out to Officer Lank. Is that right?
As I was sitting there remembering things, I believe, I can't say who did or didn't.
So as you were sitting there remembering things, you weren't just remembering things, you were remembering things and then telling others things that you remembered.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Yes.
others were absorbing whatever information you were providing to them and vice versa.
No one was really providing me any information because they didn't know what happened.
So you were, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just sitting there trying to recount what had transpired since I got that 4:53 phone call.
And one of the things that you decided
Hostile?
that you wanted to tell Sergeant Lank was a statement by my client.
Yes.
So you call Sergeant Lank on his cell phone, and you're able to get a hold of him, correct?
Yes.
Whatever he's doing, I'm guessing he was busy at the time.
I don't know what he was doing.
He's the first responder on a death of a police officer case that was just hours old. So he had to get busy.
I would assume. I, again, don't know what he was doing.
Hey, Rip, good to see you.
Phone call, he dropped everything and headed back to 34 Fairview, correct?
Assisting.
Did he come back to 34 Fairview quickly?
He was there fairly quickly, yes, I would say.
At your request,
Yes, I called him and asked him to come back.
because you told him that you had information that was important enough that he needed to get over there so you could tell him in person what this new information was.
I called him and told him that I was remembering things and asked if he could come back.
And he didn't just say, "Yeah, just tell me what it is over the phone." He literally said, "Okay, I'm going to get in my car, drive in a blizzard." It was still a blizzard, right?
Yes, it was.
I'm going to get all my gear on, drive in a blizzard back over to 34 Fairview, get out of my cruiser, come into the house, and get ready for this new information that you're going to give me. Correct?
He did not say all that, no.
No, that's what he did.
I have no idea what he did. I called him and then he came.
Well, he didn't
That's,
walk over. I mean, he came over in his car,
I would assume so, yes.
Right. So he had to get in his car, drive over to Blizzard, get out of the car, walk through the Blizzard, go to the front door, and get ready for this new meeting that he's going to have. Correct?
Yes, that seems like steps one would take.
And whatever it was that you wanted to tell him, you let him know it was important enough to have a special additional meeting. It wasn't something that you were just going to sit on. You wanted to give him this information immediately without hesitation, correct?
He said if I remembered anything to give him a call, so I did.
So when he came back over, he obviously had a notepad and a pen in his hand, correct?
I believe he was taking notes.
And you told him, you testified this morning that what you told him was Karen Reed said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, right?
Correct.
But when he wrote this report, you said, she said, I hope I didn't hit him. Correct?
I don't have his report in front of me.
Yeah, just one minute.
Yes.
Everybody writes her stuff down wrong. Procta did it right now. The other one, she can't catch a break.
You could turn to the orange tab. Do you see that?
I do, yes.
Okay, and you've had a chance to read it?
Just the highlighted
Okay.
part.
May I approach?
Yes.
In fact, what you told Officer Lank was something to the effect of, I hope I didn't hit him. Correct?
Incorrect. I told him that she said I hit him.
He wrote in his report, that you just read, something to the effect of,
Sustained.
I hope I didn't hit him.
Sustained.
Is this another example of an officer getting a report wrong?
Objection.
Is that report right?
Your Honor.
Sustained.
Your Honor, come on, help me out here. Must be nice to own the judge.
I hope I didn't hit him, or something to the effect of, I hope I didn't hit him. Sounds an awful lot like, did I hit him? Did I hit him? Did you hear that?
It does sound similar, yeah.
Here's what it comes down to. She didn't say that for the entire
You
first.
testified yesterday
Sorry.
that during that first phone call, that first phone conversation with Ms. Reed at 4:53 a.m., she told you, according to your testimony, that in that phone call, in that very first phone call, Ms. Reed said she had gotten into a fight. Her taillight was cracked. And she asked, could I have hit him or did I hit him? Correct?
Incorrect.
Tell me where I'm wrong.
In the first phone call, she had said we got into a fight and he didn't come home and I left him at the waterfall. In the second phone call, once I told her that I saw her outside of my sister's house on Fairview, that is when she said, could she have hit him, and talked about her taillight.
So 2 hours after Ms. Reed found John O'Keefe and began giving him CPR, you were interviewed by Sergeant Sean Good, correct?
Objection.
Ask the question differently, Mr. Jackson.
2 hours after Ms. Reed found Mr. O'Keefe, about 2 hours later, say 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning, after the scene was cleared, you were interviewed by Sean Good, were you not?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yeah, explain how you can't ask. Your Honor, she was interviewed by a cop. I can't say, did the cop interview you? Boy, oh boy, man. He literally has to do back bends, right? And contort himself like he's playing Twister to get questions in, because the most basic of information, the stuff that you take for granted, like foundational questions, every single thing that these people object to. And if they don't get the response they want, they hit them with, Your Honor, I'm waiting for a Bev. Come on, hun, what are we doing here? Right? Tighten up your game, Bev. This is ugly. It's pure ugly. So we were talking earlier whether or not, I don't think she's going to see a huge FBI investigation, but imagine the hate she's going to get. Imagine the trolls and everything else. There's going to be a lot. This isn't going to be pleasant for her. I would imagine trolls alone right now got to be hell on this woman. Right? Speaking of which, Shannon Sharp. If you guys want me to be covering the Shannon Sharp stuff, put a 2 or a 3 up there. I'll tell you what, I probably won't cover it like other people will, but he got, there's a lot of info out there that looks like his best friends turned him in because they were jealous. That's pretty ugly stuff, man. It's a story worth talking about, I guess.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. While you were at the scene, after Miss Reed had been giving CPR, Sean Good interviewed you, correct?
I don't remember a formal interview with Sean Good.
Do you remember talking to him?
When he arrived at the scene, I do remember briefly talking to him after all 3 of us gave John CPR.
And he asked you certain questions about what you'd seen, what you'd heard, what had happened, correct?
I have to tell you that I remember seeing him there and I remember talking to him, but I do not remember specifics of any conversation or any questions that he asked me.
Do you remember him asking you about any initial calls you had and you telling him about that 4:53 call and the early morning calls thereafter, the initial calls before you met up with Miss Reed?
I don't recall.
Did you tell Sergeant Good, by the way, he was a sergeant at the time. Sean Good was a sergeant, not an officer.
I'm not sure.
Okay. By the way, you knew Sergeant Good, did you not?
I didn't know.
She's looking
I knew
frazzled.
of him, like I knew his name, but that was it.
How'd you know of him before that day?
Because his sister is a year or 2 younger than me, and I knew she had a brother that was younger, that was a Canton cop, just through the town, but I didn't know him.
Okay, friendly but not friends.
I wouldn't even say I was friendly with him.
Okay.
Hey, Barbara.
You actually told Sergeant Good at the time when he asked about those first phone calls that when Miss Reed called you, she was inquiring about John's whereabouts, correct?
Again, I don't recall my conversations with Sean Good.
You certainly never mentioned to Sergeant Good the incessant screaming and hysteria that you've described here in court.
Objection.
Did you ever mention anything about an argument or a fight to Sean Good?
Objection.
Sustained, Mr. Jackson. She said she didn't remember. Next question.
I have to go through the series of machinations. I don't know what she remembers and doesn't remember.
Next question, Mr. Jackson.
Did you mention anything about a cracked taillight to Sergeant Good?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you have no memory at all about what you talked to Sergeant Good about?
There were many officers there.
Right.
And like I said, I know I talked to Sergeant Good, but I do not remember the specifics of my conversation during that chaotic scene.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Let me ask a different question. There were many officers there and many officers were asking you questions, correct?
Correct.
Did you tell any officer while at the scene that during those first few phone calls, first couple of phone calls with Miss Reed, that there was incessant screaming and hysteria?
Again, there were many officers asking me questions. Most of them were regarding who John was, if he had medical issues or concerns, things like that.
Right.
It was a chaotic scene. I don't remember any specific questions about phone calls. I apologize.
But you did tell at least one officer about the initial phone call that you received indicating that John may be missing, correct?
I possibly said I got a phone call and that's why I'm here. We all came out to look for him. I apologize for not remembering specifics.
Did you tell any officer at the scene anything about an argument or fighting that Ms. Reed said occurred on that first couple of phone calls?
Again, the conversations were very brief and they were with a lot of different officers. There wasn't
yes or no?
in-depth conversations.
yes or no?
Let her answer the question.
Do you recall? That is a yes or no question. Do you recall telling any officer about a conversation in the initial couple of phone calls that you had with Ms. Reed about fighting or being in an argument? Do you recall that?
I cannot answer yes or no.
Well, you either do or you don't. If you
I
don't,
said
just say
there
you
was
don't.
many different conversations. I am not sure.
So you don't recall.
I'm not sure on specific conversations about that. I apologize.
Is there a reason why you're not telling us that you simply don't recall making that statement?
Sustained.
Do you recall telling any officer about a cracked taillight that came up in one of those first two phone calls?
At the scene,
At the scene.
again, I think all the conversations were about what was happening in the present time.
And literally, this was a couple of hours after this incident, correct? When everything was freshest in your mind.
These conversations were at the scene when Miss Reed was running around screaming.
Were you also interviewed by Officer Mullaney?
Again, there were many officers there that I spoke to.
Ms. McCabe, do you understand my question? Did you understand the last question I asked you?
If I spoke to an officer, Mullaney,
Correct.
again, I could have. I am not sure. I don't remember every officer. It was a chaotic scene. I had just found my friend on the ground.
So the answer is, I don't remember.
I
Correct?
don't remember speaking to him. No, sorry.
Later that morning, you did have a conversation with Officer Lank that you actually do remember, correct?
Yes, correct.
What you told Officer Lank or Sergeant Lank was that you received a phone call from Kaylee's phone and that Karen Reed was distraught because John never came home, correct?
I told him she was, I don't remember the exact words, but I told him something like she was hysterical and screaming and said John never came home.
You never mentioned that she said anything about a fight during that initial phone call, correct?
Again, I'm not sure what exactly was said during that initial phone call.
You never mentioned that she said something about a cracked taillight in that initial phone call or those two phone calls, correct?
Are these phone calls with who? Who are these phone calls? Who am I speaking
The
to at this
initial
point?
phone calls that
Mhm.
you had with Miss Reed,
Yes.
you never mentioned to Officer Lank or Sergeant Lank that Miss Reed mentioned anything about a fight or an argument, correct?
I don't remember.
You never mentioned anything about having Miss Reed saying anything about a cracked taillight in one of those two initial phone calls, correct?
Again, I don't remember all the things that I told Officer Lank.
And you certainly never mentioned that Miss Reed said anything about could I have hit him during either of those initial phone calls, correct?
Again, I don't remember my specific conversation with Officer Lank.
So you don't remember the conversation that you had with Officer Lank when it was the clear light of day. You had a chance to take a beat and a breath, catch your breath, because it's now 11:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. You don't remember anything about that conversation. But according to your testimony, you remember in detail what my client said, waking you out of a dead sleep, correct?
So I didn't speak to him at 11:30. It was earlier in the morning when he came back to Fairview.
Let's call it 9 o'clock, whatever.
Okay.
Whatever. It wasn't the same chaos as my client screaming into the phone that John never came home, waking you out of a dead sleep, correct?
Correct.
But when you recounted that conversation or those conversations to Sergeant Lank, you didn't say a thing about Ms. Reed saying that there had been an argument, did you?
I'm saying I don't remember the specifics of my conversation with Officer Lank. I'm also saying that I was woken up out of a dead sleep. Karen showed up at my house screaming. I went out to help her look for John. And then we found one of my closest friends on the front lawn. And she was saying crazy things and acting crazy and
Ms. McCabe,
acting
that's not my
erratic.
question.
And so every
Ms.
police
McCabe,
officer
that's not
that
my
I
question.
spoke to,
Let her finish.
every police officer that I spoke to, I tried to answer their questions the best I could. It took me hours and in some cases days to remember all the things that Miss Reed had said. My mind, I was in a state of shock. But the minute I remembered, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. I called Officer Lank.
And your memory's getting better, even as we sit here today, correct?
There are certain things I will never forget, Mr. Jackson.
Including the fact that you never, ever, ever said, she said the words I hit him to a grand jury when you were asked about it 3 months after the incident. Correct?
She said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit
You
him.
never told that to the grand jury, did you?
I don't remember specifically that every grand jury and everything I said, but I can tell you with 100% accuracy, she screamed, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
You never said that to the grand jury.
I don't recall if I
You were
did.
there to get the truth, correct?
The truth is, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
You were asked that specific question at the grand jury. What did she say at the scene in front of the female EMT? And you know what your answer was? You do, because you just read it.
I wasn't asked what she was said
What
at the
was the
scene.
answer to that question?
I'm objecting.
The objection sustained. Ask one more clear question, Mr. Jackson.
What was the
One more. It's all you get.
in answer to the question about what was said by Miss Reed to the EMT, the female EMT at the scene, what did you say she said?
I don't know if I was asked specifically what she said to a female EMT.
All right, we're going to end this now.
Your Honor, may I have one more question?
Go ahead.
I can't end it like this. You said
Okay,
she
jurors,
said.
ignore the comments of counsel. Ask one question, Mr. Jackson.
You said that she said, could I have hit him? Did I hit him in the presence of the female EMT? That's what you testified to under oath at the grand jury, isn't it?
Yes, because she also said that.
All right. So, folks, we are done for today. You remember tomorrow is the day that we're not in session. So we will see you Friday. Friday is a full day. And I have to give you those questions. You can stay and file out after the jurors disappear. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read about the case, please disregard it and let us know, and be very careful with your social media. Have a great night, a good day off tomorrow. We'll see you on Friday.
So what we're looking at is that's a very, very angry Alan Jackson. And the reason is this is a pretty obvious I'd almost said miscarriage of justice. I mean, this is awful. She has gone so far out of her way. She's so in the tank for the prosecution. It's always amazing to hear a judge say, "You're getting one more question." I mean, in theory, you should be able to continue that, right? I mean, but the problem becomes, and someone joked about it earlier, Jen McCabe is smart in that she knows if she says, "I don't recall," right? She's polished up since the last trial a lot. She was so bad in the last trial. She's considerably better this time. She really is. She's still not coming across particularly likable. And she sounds like she's full of crap, right? So it's really obvious that she's been coached. You know, in the first trial, she would not acquiesce to anything. You couldn't get her to say a yes without her fighting you virtually on everything. This time she came around a little bit more. Let's see what they're doing. Are they just arguing here?
20 minutes or less.
All right. So that will hopefully take us to the luncheon recess, maybe, the morning recess or the luncheon
Scheduling.
recess at most. You have witnesses lined up for Friday afternoon?
I do. I have a number of witnesses ready for the next 3-4 days, and I've
Okay.
given notice to them, and I will try to tighten the order tomorrow morning, and I'll let the court and the defense know.
Great. All right.
You should have seen the head signals between these two during yesterday's voir dire session to determine whether or not the ARCA gentlemen from Canada were going to be able to be involved. And you could see where the prosecution thought he had that on wrap. But once it started going south, there's an old adage that lawyers never ask a question they don't know the answer to. And I would say that is probably the case, but it is not always the case in a voir dire kind of a situation where you're just trying to sort of flush out the bona fides of the individual who is planning on testifying. When that process is going on, you're normally out of earshot of the jury. So for that reason, they get a little testier. They're not always on their best behavior, but they also ask questions they don't know the answers to. They go on fishing expeditions, and he tried so hard to get the Dr. Wolf guy from yesterday to say that he had been paid off in any way, in some kind of way, that there had been some communication. They hung out, they went to dinner, they did something. And you can look and watch the prosecutor look at the big B and go, and that's it. It's a wrap, right? And then shortly thereafter, she was very nicely saying, could you have everything wrapped up by the 7th or by the 5th or whatever that date was? Yeah. They are in business together. If you don't believe that, go back and watch the testimonies right towards the end of yesterday's, and you will watch him look at her and go, like, I'm not going to win this. You may as well give it to him. It's ugly stuff. Ugly stuff. And it's the nature of our court system in general is going to be somewhere along the lines of you got you made me laugh, Zarina. No, I'm not going to remember what I was just saying. I have no idea because I read the sounds like a rival to Dr. Denton's. I was a big fan of Dr. Denton's. It really is easy to see, Monk. The fix is in, and it's ugly in. It is ugly in. What I was going to say is it's the nature of our court system. Obviously, the judge and the prosecutors and the police all have to work together, or there's not even going to be a case put on, right? A judge has to do things like sign for search warrants, and the judge has to look at what the prosecution is going to do. And it's there is sort of a symbiotic relationship that's different between prosecution and judge than is between defense and judge, in my humble opinion. But this is a fascinating case. And to watch Alan Jackson get in the testimony that he wants in spite of the fact that Bev has no intention of letting him get this stuff in, it's really, it's like anything else, I guess. It's like watching somebody who's really good at basketball, right? It's like watching somebody that's, a watchmaker or whatever, somebody who's really good at their skill. And Alan Jackson is getting in almost everything he wants in. Is there that much corruption in the courts, do you think, or are we just finding bad cases lately? That's the million. Hey, Jamie K, good to see you. That's really the $1 million question, isn't it, Cindy G? Right? That's the $1 million question. Is there that much corruption in the courts, or do you think we're just finding bad cases lately? Well, we didn't have this, right? There wasn't a law nerd community like there is today. There weren't a bunch of people who are showing live cases and talking about them, right? While we're a very small channel. Altogether, there's probably 500,000 people watching this thing. So we're getting to a point, and I mean while it's live, we're getting to a point where I don't know whether or not we just highlight these cases and we all talk about them, or and we're seeing more of them because of YouTube, or if it is systemic and it's just that bad. But earlier today, I used the example of how the federal government can walk in and say, your partner's next door, and he admitted that, that he did it. He said he's not going down alone. He said you were with him, and we've got you on videotape, right? All of this lies. We got you on videotape, and your DNA is at the scene. They can lie to me about all that. But if I lie to them during an interrogation, I can be looking at 12 years for lying to a federal officer. That's, to me, pretty messed up. Hey, JJ, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. It's good to see you. It really is. Here's the crazy thing. That's logical, right? You would think, boy, judges must hate. The truth is, a lot of judges love it. There are judges who are straight shooters. And if you're a straight shooter and you do practice the law like the woman with the blindfold on, Lady Justice, if you really are just calling balls and strikes and letting the chips fall where they may, then having a camera in your courtroom for a lot of them is like being a rock star. Unfortunately, we all remember Judge Ito and what happened to him once they put a camera in the courtroom. The O.J. Simpson case, the camera changed that case, right? That doesn't always happen, but sometimes having a having a camera in there can really change the dynamic of the case, to be sure. But I think that I'm glad that the cameras are in the courts for the Karen Reed case, because without them, she'd be doing life in prison, right? Or a really long sentence. I don't doubt that for a second. Without the courts and without Turtle Boy, she gets convicted for this. And the frightening thing is that you can get convicted and sent to prison on nothing. Believe that. Believe it. If there are people out there that want you incarcerated and they've got any kind of juice card whatsoever, they can make that happen. And by juice card, I mean, God forbid the government wanted you gone, right? God forbid the government wanted you gone. You know how easy it would be to prosecute anybody they want? I'm sorry, it's the truth. It's a frightening proposition. So your best bet is probably just to stay around the house. Find people with crap loads of wrinkles on their foreheads and don't leave the house. The lady with the blindfold peaks. No question, Zarina. No question. Sadly, that is the truth. That is the truth. We have problems here with judges sending people to a private prison they invested in. That's disgusting. That really is. Absolutely. It's not just the feds. You're right. It doesn't, and there's corruption at every level of this. There is. And unfortunately, it stems often from the best of intentions. A lot of times, the first time these people bend the rules, it's because there's a criminal that they just know is guilty, but they need those civil liberties just bent a little bit, right? Sign that search warrant, sign that arrest warrant, right? It's thin, but we need to get in there and search. Starts with the best of intentions. And then the next thing you know, you've signed off on 4 or 5 search warrants that you probably shouldn't have done, right? Or you cut deals you never should have cut. You look at some of just the horrific things that have happened over the course of, I would say it's systemic. I really would. Look back at some of the miscarriages of justice that we know about just in our lifetime. What they did to John DeLorean was pretty heinous, right? You guys remember John DeLorean, from the DeLorean Motor Car Company. He got busted buying kilos of cocaine from an undercover cop. He had no intention of ever buying drugs, ever. The feds got somebody that was working for them, and they were paying him to bust people. I mean, bottom line, he was being compensated. So he went to John DeLorean and said, "Hey, man, I hear your car company's going under. I hear you can't make a living." And he's like, "Things are hard. There's problems with this, with that." And he's like, "Why don't you pick up, 5 or 10 kilos? You get them super cheap, dish the stuff out to your friends at $100 a gram, man. You can literally make enough money to probably keep this thing going, man. I can get you some cheap stuff." That's entrapment. That guy woke up in the morning. He wasn't a criminal. He had no intention of ever being a criminal. Then they send somebody to his house who talks him into a crime. Then they arrest him for that crime. That's called entrapment. And this kind of crap has been going on forever. It's been going on forever. And that's one case. There's a couple of other really horrific ones that, and the DeLorean case had a tie to the town that Jim is in right now. There were some prosecutors that went from that part of the country. You know how many people are sitting there? We have FBI handlers, FBI agents who are sitting in prison doing life because of what they allowed confidential informants to do, particularly in the Whitey Bulger case. That was unbelievable. Or they traded a few small cases for one huge one. Oh, you know what? How about, hey, I'm a fan of Salvatore Gravano. I know people don't like him, but I like Sammy the Bull. I think the guy's turned his life around, and I realized that he's done a lot of really heinous things. But you know what? that was a deal that, you know, for the United States of America, that was a deal with the devil. It really was, especially at that time. They let a guy who walked into court and said he killed, what, 17 people, something like that? And they were not going to prosecute him for those because they wanted John Gotti that bad. Those things are deals with the devil, and they're really ugly. People, I am going to do everything within my power to put on a 7:05 show. At this exact moment, I'm going to go put heat on my back. If you guys could see me stand up, I can't walk. I'm sitting on a yoga ball, and my back is as bad as it's been in my life. I tried to get help the other night. I am going to be going, I'm going to put heat on this long enough so that I can sit in the car to go to the ER, and I'm going to get my back looked at and get something done. It's in really bad shape. I'm hoping to be back here by 7:05. If I'm not, then we're going to hope that tomorrow is going to be good to go. We're going to be sticking with tomorrow is a free day on Karen Reed, but I hope to be back here. And Jim, I will get a hold of you shortly. It's always great to see you here, my friend. Give me a couple hours, Jim, and I'll be on the phone with you. All right, everybody. God bless. Between now and the next time I see you, do me a favor and reduce a little harm. And you know what? If you're the kind that throws prayers out, I'll take one from my back, lower back, if you want to be specific. All right. God bless everybody. Bye-bye.